This is Mr. Ann, and welcome to What the Format. Today we're going to go over solving by the quadratic formula. This is usually considered the fifth method used to solve quadratics. It is also the one that works all the time. So if there's one method that you're going to remember and learn and get good at, this is the one it should be. Doesn't matter whether you can graph the quadratic, use the square root method, factor it, complete the square. This will work for in place of the others. May take a little adjustment because of the format of the others, but there you go. So remember, we have this quadratic, ax squared plus bx plus c. The quadratic formula has a b here, b squared there, minus 4 times ac all over 2a. Now please be careful. I see a lot of students when they do this, they put x's over here. There's no x's in the quadratic formula. The b, the a, the c, the a, they're the coefficients in front of the x, just numbers. Okay, so a couple examples. Hopefully this will help. So I'm going to do a factorable one first so you can see that it works both ways. And with a factorable one, I'll factor it real quick so we know what the answer should be. So let's do an easy one. X squared minus x minus 6 equals 0. The factors of 6 that subtract to 1, negative 1, are negative 3 and 2. So hopefully you can see that will factor to x minus 3 times x plus 2 equals 0. Remember, when we're solving, we have the zero product property. Whenever we multiply any two or more numbers and get 0 as the final answer, the only way to get 0 when you're multiplying is to multiply by 0. So if I have two numbers multiplied by each other to get 0, one or both have to be 0. So I could have 10 numbers multiplied together. If I get 0, one of those 10 has to be 0. Now, could more of them be 0? Yes, but at least one has to be 0. So what we do is we take each one equal to 0. We add 3 over. We get x equals what? 3. Now, here we subtract the 2 over. Oop, I probably should rewrite that, yes. My brain's going a little fast. Sorry about that. X plus 2 equals 0. We subtract the 2 over. X equals negative 2. Those are your solutions. So this is how you solve by factoring. You're good at factoring. You just set each factor equal to 0 and solve them each one separately. Hopefully this kind of helps. And we get two birds with one stone. You're going to learn quadratic formula, and now you know how to solve by factoring too. So quadratic formula, what do I have? Well, x equals what? Negative b. Well, what's my b? If it helps you write it out, a equals 1 on this equation, b equals what? Negative 1, and c equals negative 6. Those are your numbers. So if I have negative b, I'm taking negative negative 1. So I got negative negative 1. Now watch that sign change. A lot of students miss it. And if you put a 1 there, a negative 1 instead of the 1 it's supposed to be, you will get the wrong answer. So now we go plus or minus. Now I don't worry for b about the negative when I square it. Why? A negative squared is a positive. Positive squared is a positive. So I'm just going to come over here and maybe it helps you write what? B squared. Negative 1 squared is what? 1. So now that's a 1 minus. Now you could even write your 4ac over here if that helps you. Notice what I'm doing. This gets really noisy over here. What do I mean by noisy? Visually noisy. There's a lot going on. Real easy to make a mistake here, especially inside this radical. Okay? So you could write the 4. Now that 4 doesn't change. And then you've got the a and the c. But if you want to come over here, you can write 4ac out. What is that? 4 times what? 1, because that's your a. What's your c? Negative 6, which 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. A lot easier to do the math out here by itself. So now you're minusing a what? A negative 24. So you can see that you're what? Adding. Minus a minus is a plus. Now we have our 2a. Well, a is just 1, so what's 2a? 2a times 1 is just 2, so there's over 2. And that's usually the most common. Okay? A lot of these quadratic formula problems, a is 1. Now that's where it's a danger zone. You get used to writing 2 there all the time. If you're not careful, when they change it, you'll miss it. Okay, so when we simplify this, we got negative negative 1, that's 1, plus or minus 1 plus 24 is the square root of 25, right? What's the square root of 25? 5. Now, when this simplifies to a perfect square like this, okay, then you knew that this was factorable. If this is factorable, this should always simplify to a perfect square, okay? Of course, it won't always be factorable, so that won't always happen. So now, when you have the plus or minus, don't try to do them both together. Write them out. I got 1 plus 5 over 2 and 1 minus 5 over 2. That's going to give me 6 over 2, which is what? 3. Negative 4 over 2, which is negative 2. So I've got x equals 3, x equals negative 2. which if you'll notice is the exact same thing I got there. That's how the quadratic formula works. So now what if it doesn't factor? Because that's really when we use it for, right? So let's go ahead and erase all this. Let's start over. Let's pick one that isn't factorable and maybe even has some crazy numbers we don't know what we're going to get. We'll just throw them in there and see. One last example. Follow the steps. Okay, however you track your A, B, and C. If you have a lot of practice, maybe you just do it in your head. That's up to you. So let's do what? 3x squared minus 7x. Let's do plus 7x this time. Yes. Minus 2 equals 0. Okay, so 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Factors of 6 don't subtract to 7, so we just check it real quick to make sure it's not factorable. So we've got our A equals 3, our B equals 7, our C equals negative 2, our B squared is 49, if you want to track it that way. We have X equals negative B, so that's negative 7, okay? And what I'll often do is just go, okay, I got a negative B here. If you want to write negative B, you can do that. Again, these are just options. If you can see it in your head and not have to do this, that's good too. So then we got the what? Plus or minus, B squared is 49. We're going to subtract 4AC. So if you want to write your 4AC down here, we got 4 times 3 times what? Negative 2. So that should be 12, so that'd be negative 24. Oh, that's interesting, we got negative 24 both times. Negative 24, one of the fun things that happens in math, complete accident, I pick those numbers by random. Sometimes just randomly pick those numbers, sometimes that happens. Minus and minus is a plus. Now we're over 2 times 3 instead of 2 times 1. Okay, now you notice that sometimes I'll just fill the numbers in here. You could do that over here too, but maybe this is easier for you because that's a lot, like I said, there's a lot going on. Now 49 plus 24, if I change that to a plus and go 49 there, 13 carry the 1, there's my 73. X equals negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 73. 2 times 3 is 6, and guess what? You're done. May look ugly. 73, prime number, no simplification necessary. You can't divide anything. Now, word of caution, sometimes this will have something in common like this, like it might be an 8. An 8 and 6 both have 2 in common. You can't divide here unless you also divide here. I think of it as a D. If I'm going to simplify here, I have to be able to simplify here. If you can't do both, don't do it. Okay, now sometimes they'll split this up. I'll write it so you can see it. I don't like it, I'll leave it like that. But every once in a while you'll see it split up like negative 7 over 6. Yes? Plus or minus what? The square root of 73 over 6. So you can, when you're adding and subtracting the numerator and just a single denominator, you can split the fraction like this. Now typically they only do that when you can simplify one or the other. But when there's multiple formats for the same answer, you have to be careful them using one or the other, especially on the higher standardized tests. They might decide to do this just to test your knowledge of splitting fractions. Now that's a skill, splitting fractions. Some of the times this doesn't end up a fraction because we can simplify here and here. Variations. Hopefully you're seeing that there's a lot here, but if you just follow the steps, you're going to get a right answer. Now maybe you need to work on the format of that answer, but at least if you follow the steps, you're going to get the answer. Anyway, that's solving by quadratic formula. Hopefully the 2 examples make sense. You saw that how it works when this was a perfect square, when it's not a perfect square. Leave it as a fraction. Again, this is my preferred format, and most teachers, that's what you're going to get. But every once in a while, standardized tests are going to split the fraction. So you need to be aware that you can do that too. I know, a lot to keep track of. So watch the video again. Go back and watch a bunch of the videos again. That's the issue with learning. The more complicated it gets, you're not going to get it all in one shot. It takes time and effort. If you try to do it all at once, you're going to hurt your brain. Break it up. Watch the first example, write it down, take a break, come back an hour or 2 later, go over it again. Oh, now I see it. Maybe the next day you see it. Maybe a week later you see it. There's no timetable for this. That's one reason I'm putting this stuff on video so that you can have it at your fingertips anytime you need. You go to a class, you have the class once, you leave, especially, or maybe you even miss the class because you were sick, or maybe there's a sub that class. Do you lose your notes? At least with the video now, you can keep rewatching it, you can rewrite your notes. You can give yourself the time to think about it and not just be doing it once, because I never learned it once. It was the second or third time that I saw it that things really clicked for me. And hopefully this gives you that medium that you can do it as many times as you need to. Anyway, this has been Mr. Hanna with What the Format. Thank you for watching. Happy mathing.